Hello and welcome to Cycles of Time, your weekly guide to what's happening on Earth as we make our revolutionary journey around the sun. For time immemorial, our human ancestors have created myths and meanings to help us adapt and thrive as seasons change. Join me each week to explore the intersections of these ancient cycles, from the indigenous medicine wheel to the pagan wheel of the year, the Babylonian and Greek zodiac to the I Ching, the ancient Chinese book of changes. I'm your host, Allison Dale, and this is the Cycles of Time podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to your weekly Cycles of Time forecast for the week of January 27th to February 2nd, 2025. And I cannot believe how different it feels recording this today on Sunday, the 26th, compared to a mere week ago on the 19th. But, you know, the cycle continues. So here we are. This week we have a lot going on in the Cycles of Time, so I'll jump right into the highlights. It's a week of new beginnings, a lot of newness, which I feel like it's a perfect time for that. We're starting out this Wednesday, January 29th, with the Lunar New Year. It is the day of the new moon in Aquarius. The Lunar New Year always happens on the second new moon after the solstice, and so this year it is on the 29th, and it is ushering in the year of the wood snake as we leave the year of the wood dragon behind. And that new moon is in the human design gate of wanting, gate 19. And we'll talk more about that later. Thursday, January 30th, Pluto enters gate 41, which is the gate of contraction, or kind of an imaginal cell gate. Pluto was last there from 1781 to 1789. So it is a completion of a 248-year cycle, and the sun is also in gate 41 on Monday before it enters gate 19 on Tuesday. And we talked about gate 41 last week, which is the Rave New Year, the human design New Year. And so Pluto's entering kind of this gate of new beginnings around the same time as the Lunar New Year. So that's a big kind of double new beginnings. And also on that same day, on Thursday, January 30th, Uranus is stationing direct in Taurus after a few months, about 4 months of retrograde motion for Uranus. And Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. And so as we are in Aquarius season and Pluto is going deeper into Aquarius, we also have the modern ruler of Aquarius going direct and bringing more forward momentum to Aquarian themes. So we're deep in the water bearers territory right now. Saturday, February 1st, is the cross-quarter day of Imbolc in the pagan wheel of the year. And in the human design and I Ching wheel on Monday, we're in gate 41 still. The sun is in the gate of contraction. Then from Tuesday through Saturday, sun moves into gate 19, the gate of wanting. And Sunday into next week, we enter gate 13, the gate of the listener. So most of the week we're in the gate of wanting, gate 19, and that's where the Lunar New Year is happening. That's where the new moon in Aquarius is happening. And that's where Imbolc, this cross-quarter day, is happening as well. So we'll see how wanting ties into these kind of new beginnings, beginning of spring festivals that are celebrated in cultures around the world. So there are some pretty cool correspondences between the different wheels of the year that I reference here on the podcast. And I'm really ready for the new year vibes. I feel like, we always need a new beginning, but right now it feels like, some injection of new energy would be pretty awesome. I'm recording this late on Sunday night, like in the middle of the night, because I've just been putting it off. But I'm happy to be here and happy that I'm making it happen despite all the things the cycle must go on. First signs of spring this week. This week's themes are, these very first signs of spring are peeking out from beneath winter's surface on Earth and kind of in our bodies as well, feeling a little bit of that energy of a new season start to emerge. And innovation is another theme with all the Aquarian and Uranian energy. So I feel like innovation, interconnection, and wisdom, and kind of the interconnection between innovation and wisdom is another big theme to think about as we enter these new beginnings. And another theme is cleaning out the old to welcome the new, and attracting opportunities through true care and empathy. That's a big theme of the week as well. So our place in the Wheel of the Year, you can always look at this diagram if you want a visual aid on Cycles of Time podcast or astro.somatics on Instagram, still on the Meta platform for now. I'll be launching my own website very soon where all of this information will live. And I'm also on Blue Sky now at Cycles of Time podcast because things are shifting. The tides are shifting in social media. But I'd say the most reliable place to find me actively is on Substack at astrosomatics.substack.com. And in each episode I also put out as a free blog that you can subscribe to and get in your inbox every Monday. And that is where you will find this diagram as well. That's kind of putting together the wheels of the year. For those longtime listeners, but if anybody's new here, I am looking at the Wheel of the Year through the lens of the Indigenous Medicine Wheel, the Pagan Wheel of the Year, and the Holy Days of the Pagan Wheel of the Year, the Wuxing cycle, which is the 5-element cycle of Taoist China, and the Western Zodiac, and the Ching, which is kind of has its translations being brought to the West in some sort of way through human design and the gene keys. But it's these 64 hexagrams or 64 gates that I'm looking at as they correspond with these other seasonal wheels. So this week in the Wheel of the Year, we are in the medicine wheel direction north, which represents wind and elderhood and spirituality. And we're kind of coming into the east, which is representing birth and childhood, spring, the earth element, and the physicality, like the modality of physicality versus spirituality. And that is kind of coming right around this time. So we're starting to go from north until east. The Wuxing cycle, the Taoist 5-element cycle, we're in the element of water in winter, this very yin receptive element. And in that cycle, between each element of the 5-element cycle, Earth is it comes in to ground us in between the transitions between every season, because we don't jump from one to the next. We don't jump from water to wood, for example, but there's a moment of time, a short kind of micro season of Earth in between each of the elemental shifts. And then Earth is also a late autumn element, a little bit longer in late autumn. But basically we're moving from the yin nature of water to another yin element of earth, still staying close to the ground, but kind of getting ready for wood to grow upward out of this yin place in the spring. So that's wood is coming soon. The pagan holy day that we're celebrating this week is Imbolc, and that is a cross-quarter day between Yule and Ostara, and so that's between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So Imbolc is this cross-quarter day. Happy Imbolc to everyone who celebrates. The zodiac season, we're in Aquarius season from January 19th to February 18th. The moon phase is a new moon in Aquarius on Wednesday. And then, as I mentioned, the I Ching hexagram or human design gate that we're experiencing the sun transiting through this week is gate 41 on Monday, and that is known as the gate of contraction. Then we enter the gate of wanting, gate 19, and finally on Sunday, enter the gate of the listener. So last week, a little recap, we entered the Rave New Year, which is the celebration of new beginnings in the human design system, as the sun transited through gate 41, the gate of contraction. And I liken this gate, this energy, to kind of imaginal cells and fantasy and dreams, and kind of decreasing and emptying your cup and pruning things back so that you have room for something new to come in. So the big lesson here in gate 41 last week for this Rave New Year was basically, after we get real and acknowledge the limitations of our current situation, which was the previous gate before that, the gate of limitations. After we acknowledge those limitations, we are now ready to begin the process of preparing for something completely new. And the best way to start something completely new in the very, very beginning is to contract inward and trim the excess, trim the fat, and prune the branches to conserve energy for more sustainable growth when the time comes. So speaking of that, I mentioned this a little bit ago when I was referencing my social media, but I feel like gate 41 and this kind of energy of contraction really lined up with the energy of what was shifting last week, with a lot of people deleting a social media app or deliberately making changes to their habits in that arena at the very least. And for me, I saw that as kind of like a mass activity of people reeling in their time and reeling in their brain space a little bit for more worthwhile endeavors, kind of creating space for what is next. And although it was reactionary, it was also, for me, something that was like, wow, I'm really having to start thinking about in a deep way about like what these apps mean for me. And then I'm also thinking about how much time I'm spending on them and who controls what media and how we gather together. And it's been a pretty deep process, as inane as it might seem. It's definitely, kind of a lot, that contraction, that reeling in from a habit that had been formed for many, many years for a lot of us out there. And so I feel like that's gate 41 in action, kind of contracting away from our usual habits, bringing something in, decreasing a reliance on something. So, I joined Facebook 20 years ago, or even more. I think it was when it came out in colleges before it was released to the general public. I was in college when it came out. And I think I joined it in 2003 or 2004. It started in the Ivy League colleges and then moved on to kind of the sub-tiers of colleges that mine were in. And and I was like, well, this thing is crazy. But I've been on it ever since. And since then, I've added on new social media accounts and adapted to changes on that platform. Joined Instagram, a very long time ago as well, like 2011 maybe. So I've been on these platforms for so long and always had like a little bit of a hesitation about how much I was on them, but so many people were on them. And I joined TikTok like 2 months ago, not very long at all, but I saw what an ecosystem had flourished there within the past 5 years or so. And I feel like for many of us, we joined social media at one point, just kind of on a whim when it was new, perhaps, or later on, but we joined it once and then never really looked back. I know some people who have quit and then come back again, but, deciding to like prune back the accounts or really deliberately look at what's going on within these communities and, or quit cold turkey, it's something that I've never done. So this past week has been a pretty deep process about the best way to move forward with these accounts, and I will keep you posted for anybody that follows me on Instagram. I think I'm moving away from Meta very soon. But trying not to do it hastily, because there's a lot of beautiful community and a lot of beautiful humans that I only know there. So it seems kind of almost ridiculous to be focusing so much on social media when there's so much on the line right now in the real world of policy and all of that. But I also do think that a lot of us are reeling from this sudden reality check about how much these apps have kind of been a part of our lives, for better or for worse. And ultimately, I'm still and will always be a fan of social media at its core. This idea of a digital town square that allows so many diverse opinions and topics to be kind of held and contemplated and received in the same place at once. And there's a lot of beauty to that. But of course, there's a dark shadow side, and Pluto in Aquarius is all about the shadows of technology. So here we are. When you start to think more critically about who owns the town square and what types of billboards they'll be putting up in the coming years that you can't really look away from, it's time to kind of make some decisions about where we're spending our time and energy and just reeling it back in with that Gate 41 energy. For me, I've noticed that even if I don't quit social media and I instead move over or migrate to a place like Blue Sky or Red Note, Xiaohongshu, the energy that was cultivated in my existing communities on Instagram and on TikTok and Facebook, it's not there, right? It's like going into an echo chamber, this new place where it's like, what do I post here? Who is even here? Like, do I even care to connect with people who have like-minded interests anymore? Like, is it worth starting fresh, or should I just reel it all back in and invest everything into IRL in-person communities? But I don't know. It's a deep thing to think about. Communication, community is so important right now. Having a way to connect with others is so important right now. And, you know, whether it's in real life and you find a group that you can commune with. I feel really lucky because I am connected to a community through Qigong here in Santa Fe that does feel really like-minded and generative and open-minded. But again, it's not the same as having a wide social media network of people across the globe who are linked by a certain interests, and they're just... Social media platforms are not just media platforms. They are real communities, and they're unique constellations of individual souls that have come together at a particular time and place. And so just to say peace and to kind of disintegrate and decentralize is happening in mass, and it's like, where are people going to end up? You know, it's a big question on the minds of many right now, as kind of silly as it seems. It's not silly at all. So I'm curious what y'all are doing out there with if it's shifted, if you've reeled in your social energy a little bit. And, you know, no matter what I decide to do with my social networking, I'd say a conscious change in behavior will ultimately result in a decrease or a contraction, which are these energies of Gate 41. Because either way, by looking at it a little closer, I'm not going to be as mindlessly engaging as I once did with the dopamine hits of likes and hearts and comments and posts and all of that. It doesn't feel quite as important now, although the sense of community is. So let me know what you think in the comments on Substack, or send a message. I'm just so curious about kind of where people are ending up with this. You know, it's the first full gate of Aquarius season, this Gate 41, and it... over the course of last week and into this week, and with Pluto entering Gate 41 as well for the next couple of years, it's a deep reminder that in order to best create the new interconnected channels and realities that will influence the future, we kind of need to first drain the main aquifer and refill it with fresh water. I've talked about Aquarius being the, Roman creators of the whole aquifer system in ancient Rome that spread water from a main channel to all of the different corners of a mega city. And so those channels, those networks can get polluted, right? They can get to a place where it's like, wait, there might be somebody that's like inadvertently in control of one side, one part of the channels, or it might have some toxic element introduced. And so sometimes reeling it in, contracting inward really just means that we're going back to the source of like, why are we there in the first place? What is the resource, the truth of the resource in the first place? And just refilling it back up and kind of seeing which channels are still necessary or active. And for me, I've like really sat down with my social media and written down who are the people that I want to stay in touch with, and written them, not just their screen names or their handles down, but their real names if I know them. And it's people from, some people I used to work with at restaurants back in the day, to some new colleagues in the astrology world, to friends, my old high school friends' parents too. It's people all across the board, across these channels. And I want to make note of who are these nodes of the network that I have been influenced by and that I want to continue to be. So it's really just this intentionality that's coming through right now in this contraction, witnessing where the channels, where we want to dig new channels and where we want to maintain the ones that were already there. So in the I Ching, the 2 trigrams, mountain over lake, represent gate 41. And this reminds us that a lake is simply a decrease, or like a hole in the ground. It's a decrease of land. And that is one that can be filled with fresh rains that are generated when the storm condenses and cultivates over the mountain. So mountain over lake is this feeling of bringing new energy into a decrease, but you need that decrease. You need that space in order for new energy to come in. So I hope you're all finding it, finding some silver linings about creating that space out there this week. And, the sun is leaving gate 41 on Monday this week and entering the gate of wanting, which is gate 19 for the rest of the week. But as I mentioned, we're not done with the energy of gate 41 yet. It's a pretty important one over the next couple of years. So it's important to talk about and to think about what contraction, decrease, imagination, all of these types of things mean. Fantasy, dreams. This is the space of those things. And as Pluto comes into gate 41, we can see that the last time this most outer planet was there was from 1781 to 1789, which coincided with the discovery of Uranus in 1781. And during this period, Pluto's transit through gate 41 was marked by a lot of historical events, including the American Revolutionary War, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution. And the transit was this kind of micro season of Pluto in Aquarius that many years ago was definitely characterized by tension and the need for kind of consistent adjustment and reflecting on the transformative and revolutionary nature of this period. So the contractions of gate 41, again, are like the uterine contractions before birth, where we know that kind of upheaval is a necessary part of new beginning. If anyone has given birth and gone through labor before out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can't just have birth without contractions. You can't bring something new into the world without that kind of, upheaval of what the current situation is, right? And, as someone who has experienced labor myself, I know that the contractions are necessary, but I also deeply know and want to communicate that allowing my energy to decrease into complete relaxation and rest in between each active contraction is also a super truly necessary part for a birth to happen. You can't get caught up in the frenzy. It's equally as important to allow the rest periods to be very restful so that you have energy for the next contraction without it wearing you out. And that's my birth story. I'll tell that sometime. It was a very spiritual moment of life, spiritual day of my life. But here we are in the gate of contractions. So I believe that Pluto in gate 41, the sun spends almost a week there every year. Pluto will spend a couple of years there, overall 2.5 years or so. And I believe that this transit will shine light. Pluto's all about shining light into the underworld of things. So this will shine light into the things that we need to release in order to make space for something completely different, the beginning of a new cycle. So we will have a little bit more retrograde. Pluto, all the outer planets kind of go back and forth in and out of these gates and in and out of signs. So we will have Pluto retrograding back into gate 60, the gate of limitation, from August 20th to December 5th of this year. And then after that, it'll go back into 41 for the next 2 years until February 2028. So we're not in 41 for the long haul, but that energy is definitely there. And from now until August, we'll be feeling that energy of like, what are we holding on to really tightly, and what do we need to release in order to create that space, that lake, that deep lake for the new rains to fall into. So yeah, like I mentioned in the intro, on the same day as Pluto enters gate 41, this Wednesday the 30th, or Thursday the 30th, the planet Uranus is stationing direct in Taurus after a retrograde period that started on September 1st. And Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, representing innovation and eccentric revelations and sudden transformations. And this forward motion of this planet will add kind of even more Aquarianness to this season of Aquarius, season of the water bearer, and into Pluto's deepening into the sign. So it's pretty interesting that it's stationing direct at the same time that Pluto enters 41, which the last time it was there was when Uranus, the planet, was discovered in the first place. So yeah, give a little meditation to Uranus. Think about Uranus this week. It's an important one. And so, what I will say about all that is just hold on. Hold on to your butts, as we like to quote Jurassic Park around here. We're not in for a boring season ahead. That is for sure. But I didn't have to tell you that anyway. We are in it. And most astrologers will say that the beginning of 2025 up until about March, April definitely contains the biggest astrology, I will say. And then the later part of the year, it calms down a bit. So, just make sure to take those rest periods in the midst of the contractions. That is something that is so important to birth a new earth, a new world. Rest and go down, go inward. And with that, I will say Happy Lunar New Year. We'll move on to that part of the podcast, getting Pluto out of the way. Happy Lunar New Year. I love the Lunar New Year. I just today went to a nice Lunar New Year celebration with my family and saw some beautiful lion dances, very loud, very let's scare the old year away and welcome in the new. Lots of very loud clanging drumming, and my daughter wasn't the biggest fan of the sound, but she loved the dances, and they're so incredibly talented and amazing to see these 2-person lions just jumping, dancing about, and kind of stealing lettuce from someone. I don't exactly know the story, but I think lettuce in Chinese, in Mandarin, is the same, sounds the same as the word wealth. And so these lions steal this lettuce and then tear it all apart and throw it all over the place, like a head of romaine lettuce. And super colorful, super just loud and fun, and like a great way to ring in the new year and bring prosperity and wealth in. That's what we're doing. So hopefully not. I think it's not greedy wealth. They steal the lettuce, but then they like spread it all around the room. So I need to get a little deeper into the significance behind that. But it was very cool lion dance I got to see at the International Folk Art Museum here in Santa Fe. A really amazing museum. If you haven't had a chance to go, if you ever visit Santa Fe, check it out. It's very, very awesome. But yeah, I feel very in the spirit to welcome in the Lunar New Year. And it's one of the oldest and most widely celebrated festivals in the world, deeply rooted in ancient Chinese traditions, but spans across Asia. And the calendar is based, the calendar in China was based on the cycles of the moon, and it's different from the solar calendar in that way. So the Lunar New Year always falls on the second new moon after the winter solstice, and that's usually between January 21st and February 20th. And again, all new moons mark the beginning of a fresh cycle, symbolizing renewal, new beginnings, time to plant seeds, and the moon being invisible in the sky, having it be a dark sky, is a moment of cleansing and letting go of the past, making space for new opportunities, like dark, rich soil that we're planting seeds into to grow. So this festival historically coincided with the end of deep winter and the anticipation of spring. It's a good word, anticipation. It's not the beginning per se, but it is like this marker of like, we're anticipating it now. We're officially allowed to anticipate spring after the depths of winter. And it's also a time to honor ancestors and seek blessings from deities and gather with family and community to prepare for the year ahead. So the reason the Lunar New Year begins on the new moon has roots in the lunar calendar, where each month starts with a new moon, which marks the first day of the lunar cycle. And it's kind of a symbolic reset, like planting seeds for the months ahead. And the new year is a time to honor nature's cycles and align the energy of the earth with the human desires for prosperity and health and good fortune and lettuce. And the lunar calendar was traditionally used to guide agricultural activities, of course, as were most of these cycles. And the New Year's timing is connected to the natural rhythms of the earth. And that ensures proper harmony between the heavens and the land. So a central part of the Lunar New Year tradition is the legend of the 12 zodiac animals. And the Jade Emperor, according to myth, wanted to choose 12 animals to represent the years in a repeating 12-year cycle. So to determine the order of the animals in the Chinese zodiac, the emperor organized a race across a river. And the first 12 animals to cross would earn a spot in the zodiac. And it's really interesting to hear about. I knew about this story of the race before, like how the order of the Chinese zodiac, but my daughter made a little dragon and a little snake today and at the museum, and then she wanted to race them. And she had no idea. I haven't told her this story, I don't believe, but she was like, they were like these little origami paper creatures that she had made, and she just wanted to race them. So I thought it was kind of cool that came up. But basically, this race happened like this. Basically, the first 12 animals to cross would earn a spot in the zodiac. So the number 1 spot went to the rat, because the rat is small and clever, and he arrived on the other side, the other bank of the river, because he cleverly rode on the back of the ox, who is strong and powerful and steady, but not as quick. So we have the rat and then the ox. And then, the rat jumped ahead at the very last moment. So it shows like the wittiness and kind of sneakiness and cleverness of the rat. I know a lot of rats out there, 1984 babies. So I can attest to that. No, just kidding, but kind of not just kidding. But yeah, so there we go, rat and then ox. And then the tiger is number 3, which was just a powerful, quick, ferocious animal, who finished 3rd, who was followed by the rabbit, who hopped across using a stone. And then the dragon, who is capable of flying, obviously, and is the most powerful creature in all of ancient China, could have easily won the race, but stopped to help others, including a village that needed rain, because dragons in ancient China, some types of dragons can bring rain. So he kind of took a detour and stopped to give rain to a village and ended up in 5th place. And then the snake came next, who slipped past the horse while it was distracted and claiming 6th place. And then the horse followed closely behind and took 7th. And then the sheep, monkey, and rooster worked closely together and kind of used their collective skills to cross the river. And they came in 8th, 9th, and 10th positions. Then the dog, who was kind of playful and distracted by the river's current, arrived 11th. And the pig, who stopped to eat and rest and just kind of chill out on the other side of the bank, knowing that there would be no problem getting across, was the last to finish and earned the 12th spot. I'm the year of the pig, year of the boar. And I used to kind of resent that. I was like, really? The lazy pig at the end of the race? But now I'm like, no, I think it's a good place to be. There's an intelligence in waiting till the end, perhaps. So that is the order of the animals. And again, it's not just based on their speed, but also on their unique characteristics as they work with each other or take advantage of each other or be lazy and or whatever it is they're doing. But so each animal represents a different virtue, like cleverness, strength, determination, and kindness. So this race became the basis for the Chinese zodiac, with each animal's year influencing the personality traits and energies of those that are born in that year. And then it's a little more complex than that. So we have 12 animals in the Chinese zodiac, and we have gone from the dragon to the snake. And there's also another element to it, which is the elements, the 5 elements of the Wuxing cycle that I talk about a lot here on the podcast. And the association of elements with the animals of the zodiac is rooted in the 5-element theory, 5-phase theory, which is a foundational concept in Chinese philosophy, which underpins many different aspects of Chinese culture, including medicine, astrology, and cosmology. So as we know by now, the 5 elements in the Chinese cosmology are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And they're believed to represent fundamental forces of nature with their own qualities and interactions and cycles of creation and destruction. Wood burns by fire, which turns into earth, and then it's consolidated into a metal ore within the earth, and water condenses on that metal, and then the water provides the nutrients for the wood to grow again. So it's this generative, ongoing cycle of elements that are not distinct from each other, but they're very interconnected and have relationality between the different phases or elements. So the idea in Chinese cosmology is that everything in the universe is composed of these 5 elements that are consistently interacting with one another in one way or another and creating balance or imbalance. And in the case of the Chinese zodiac, each of the 12 animal signs is not only assigned a specific year, but also a cycle of elements. And the elements are paired with the animals, rotating every 60 years to create a combination of both an animal and an element for each year. So the full Chinese zodiac is a 60-year cycle that composes the 5 elements with the 12 animals. And that's part of a larger cosmic system that brings together these different elements and creates this dynamic interplay of energies that influence both individuals and the world at large. So each animal of the zodiac is connected with an element, and that's thought to influence the characteristics and behavior and the fortune of those that are born in that year. And the elements add a certain complexity and a certain nuance to the interpretation of each animal, so it makes a richer and more layered astrological system. So someone born in the year of the wood dragon, for example, would have a different energetic makeup than someone born in the year of the fire dragon, even though they're both year of the dragon. So there's a lot of differences there, and you should definitely look up what your Chinese zodiac is with the element. It adds a lot to it. I'm a water pig, so that feels even more floaty, I suppose. But I like that because I'm a Virgo in Western astrology, so I'm kind of like the water pig balances out the Virgo in some ways, I think. The kind of like lazy, just like wait for things to happen, with the like industrious, discriminating types. I'm like, all right, that's cool combination. I actually did a series of drawings called Star Spirits for a while, where I would kind of merge the Eastern and Western zodiac together to make kind of unique creatures. And it was a really, really fun project to do that I'm still might bring alive again. But yeah, again, you know me. I love the synthesis of all of these different symbols because I can create visuals of them in my head. And I love like thinking about sitting at a dinner table with my family and being like, oh, there's like a twin rabbit and a fire twin rabbit and a virgin pig and a couple of tiger rams and a crab rabbit, and like there's all these animals. And when you just start thinking of like looking around a table of people you know with their fused zodiac characteristics, it creates a pretty funny Last Supper kind of vibes. So I digress. Let's get into the year that we're currently going into now that we know a little bit about the history of how these years are decided. Basically, in the context of the Chinese zodiac, the elements cycle through the 12 animals in a way that really adds depth and personality to the traits and fortunes. And the wood element is associated with growth and creativity and expansion, kind of upward like a tree. Fire represents passion, intensity, and transformation. Earth is linked with stability, practicality, and nurturing energy. Metal reflects strength, precision, and organization. And water is connected to adaptability, intuition, and emotion. In this way, the elements tied to each Chinese zodiac animal aren't just a symbolic or arbitrary addition. Of course they're not, but they're really integral to understanding the deeper energies and dynamics at play in each year. And the elements provide a framework for understanding how each animal's energy expresses itself, and they influence patterns of behavior and opportunities and challenges that people could face during each year of their lives. And this makes the Chinese zodiac a system for predicting individual traits and also connecting it into the larger rhythms of nature and the cosmos and the flow of energy throughout time in these larger 60-year cycles. The Lunar New Year is a celebration of this deep connection to time and nature and the animal spirits that guide it. And this race across the river, the story symbolizes the balance between personal effort and external help and interdependence and interdynamics between the different animals. And that story really reminds us that success comes not only from our kind of distinct individual traits, but also from working together and being attuned to the needs of others. This new moon, which begins the Lunar New Year, really echoes this sense of new opportunities, and Lunar New Year is a moment to reflect on the past and learn from the lessons of these animals that we're all in interrelationship with, and look ahead to the coming year, setting intentions and celebrating the unity between humans and the natural world. So this year is the year of the wood snake, and it begins on the new moon in Aquarius. And for the past year, we've been riding the back of the wood dragon, which is a powerfully dynamic animal and element combination that represents change, strength, and upward growth, with that wood in there. This week, with the new moon on Wednesday the 29th, we will slither into the year of the wood snake, maintaining the qualities of upward growth and expansion that is within the wood element, but we kind of shift from the audaciousness of the giant winged dragon to the wisdom and humility of the serpent. I'm really excited for the snake year. I'm a big fan of snakes. I just completed my first textile art of a rainbow serpent, which I've painted many of before, but it was really fun to do this kind of poke stitch textile art, kind of making a rug of this serpent. It was for the year of the snake. So I also have these gold snake earrings that I wear probably far too often that I got from a local artist in town, but just really into that snake energy, and I'm excited it's here. Love the dragon, but dragon energy has been a bit much, and it's time to go into that wood snake-ness. I mentioned a few episodes ago about how the Western numerology is the year of the hermit in the tarot, because the hermit card is the 9 card, and the 2 + 2 + 5, 2025, if you add them up, equals 9. So it is the year of the hermit. So I loved looking at this year as the year of the hermit snake and kind of seeing the parallels between those two symbols for this year ahead. But the year of the wood snake, going back from my synthesis of symbols again, but going back to the year of the wood snake, without tarnishing it, it coincides with the new moon in Aquarius, and this brings a unique blend of energies that can help inspire on this day of the Lunar New Year a deep personal transmutation in intellectual breakthroughs and innovative change. All of those qualities of Uranus that I mentioned earlier. And so we're obviously in a very Aquarian time, and also a very hermity, snaky time. And so how do all of those things, all of those archetypes and symbols kind of fit together? Starting with the snake. In the Chinese zodiac, the snake is known for its wisdom, intuition, and ability to navigate complex situations with grace. The wood snake, in particular, combines the snake's natural qualities with the wood element, and that, again, is associated with growth, creativity, and upward mobility and adaptability. So wood energy encourages expansion and new beginnings. It's the spring element in the wheel of the year. Well, the snake's energy is more introspective and strategic. And just ultimately think about a snake. It's close to the ground and it's always moving, right? It's kind of, snakes stay still, but they have the ability to move very adaptively. So during the year of the wood snake, we may feel inspired to focus on personal growth and intellectual pursuits and the cultivation of deep inner wisdom. This is a year that could favor long-term planning and thoughtful decision-making instead of rushing into actions. Even though we do have that wood element of upward growth, we're still we're bringing it back into a more grounded energy than we were in the year of the dragon. And we're moving into the year of the horse next year, and it'll be the fire horse. So that's going to be a much more galloping, transformative energy. So this year really is about that, similar to that contraction, that reeling in, that pruning of the excesses kind of vibes of Pluto and Gate 41 that we're having throughout this year. The year of the wood snake kind of echoes that, thoughtfulness, wisdom, depth. So, the wood element supports nurturing ideas and projects from the ground up. And the snake's energy urges us to remain patient and trust our gut and pay attention to the subtle signs that are around us, all of the symbols and how they interconnect. This year of the wood snake can also bring a heightened sense of intuition and an increased ability to see beyond the surface, below the surface, which can help us to discern hidden truths. And there could be moments within this year of introspection that leads to potential self-doubt, as the snake tends to provoke us to examine our motivations and our inner desires more closely and not just kind of go along with the races. It's like a little bit deeper, a little bit more connected to what is the truth behind something. So this is a year to slow down a bit and gather your resources together, gather your communities together, gather your knowledge and your inner wisdom, and find practices that can help you tap into those snake-like qualities and take measured and deliberate steps towards your future goals, trusting that growth will come with time. You know, a single seed doesn't sprout into a tree overnight, but there is a steady upward growth. So there's a certain steadiness to this year. And that feels really nice to hear. It feels like a warm, cozy blanket to hear about snake energy right now. The new moon in Aquarius rings in this new year and this Lunar New Year, and that's again on January 29th on Wednesday, and it amplifies themes of innovation and forward thinking and independence that Aquarius embodies. So as we begin this year of inner wisdom cultivation, we can think about that in an Aquarian way. Aquarius is the sign of the future and technology and social progress and social networks. And it's also most of the time seen as a very rebellious and unorthodox and often visionary sign, which seeks to break free from tradition and create something radically new. So we know that a new moon is always a time of new beginnings, of planting seeds, and every single thing I've talked about so far this week has lent itself towards those new beginnings. There's a lot of alignment at this time of year. Some parts of the year, the different cycles from different cultures that I look into aren't quite on the same page. But at this point in time, the beginning of February, it's like, okay, it's on. It's all about this anticipation of spring, this new beginnings, this readiness for something new. So let's see what I was going to say. The new moon this week, as the Lunar New Year approaches, is really like encouraging us to think outside of the box and to challenge societal norms and make strides towards personal and collective freedom. And it's definitely an excellent time to focus on community building as well as that inner resourcing, and just recognizing that community is a part of our inner resource. Making those lists of names that I was talking about helped fortify me by taking the names off of the social networks and being like, these are real people. This is like a hugely fortifying part of my life, is knowing that all these people are out there who I am connected with out in the world. So that's a very Aquarian part of this, but I'm also bringing it inward to my heart to check in about what's important about this and not just kind of keeping on going in the same way I've been going, right? So, yeah, it's time to reflect on these, plant seeds for how we want to see community built and how we want our ideals to grow in this year of the wood snake. So while the wood snake is more introspective and patient, Aquarius can urge us to think on a bigger scale, perhaps, and envision a bright future. And so this combination of these two energies this week on Wednesday really encourage us to tap into the snake's wisdom, Aquarius's innovative energy, and think strategically about the changes that we want to see in both our personal lives and in the larger world. And do that with a sense of recognizing that we're all interconnected. I think both the snake and Aquarius can really show that in the way that the snake moves through space in a certain way, connecting space to each other, like making a mark on the ground, making channels into the ground, the same way that Aquarius is a channel digger and the networker of connecting places and time. So in that way, I see them as very connected to each other. So this new moon in Aquarius could be an ideal time to launch projects that challenge the status quo or step into leadership roles that push boundaries. And there's no shortage of leadership needed right now, and also networked community leadership especially. So together, the wood snake and the new moon in Aquarius are creating a powerful opportunity for personal and societal evolution and revolution. So the snake's introspection and wisdom can help us navigate Aquarius's innovative energy in a grounded way and help us avoid rash decisions or impulsive actions this week. And the Aquarius new moon really is simultaneously encouraging us to take bold steps and plant bold seeds towards a future that we want to see grow. And the wood snake is just saying, do it with patience and plan ahead and look towards the future and pay attention to your inner wisdom and the details of the situation, every grain of sand on the ground, right? So, whether you start a new project this week or engage with technology in a new way or an innovative way, or just are seeking a certain type of personal freedom, this wood snake year paired with the new moon in Aquarius is really offering us a potent moment for making lasting and meaningful changes in our lives and in the world. So 2025, we're off to a bang. It's like really starting now. I feel this is, I start the podcast on the spring equinox, and I think of spring as the time when the sprouts are coming out of the ground, and the Aries, the ram, is ramming ahead. But I do really like thinking about this time of year, Aquarius season, as the new year. It's really starting to it hits in a certain way of this very, the seeds underground are starting to stir. And that is, it's a feeling of things are ready to be born, but it's not like they're bursting out of the earth yet. So in correspondence with that, we also this week have another holy day festival from the other side of the world, from the pagan wheel of the year, a Celtic festival called Imbolc. And that is celebrated on February 1st or 2nd historically. And it's an ancient Celtic festival that marks the halfway point between this winter solstice and the spring equinox. So that is why this week in the wheel of the year is astronomically so important. But Imbolc traditionally honors the goddess Brigid, who is a goddess associated with fertility, healing, and poetry. And the festival signifies the return of light and the lengthening of days, again, symbolizing new beginnings and the stirring of life beneath the cold earth, beneath the snow. It's known as the belly. In the belly is what Imbolc means. And so it's kind of this time of year when ewes, sheep in Ireland, were pregnant and were about to give birth. And so it's a time of, fertility, a time of knowing that spring is coming and life is coming around the corner after a very dark, dark winter. In the U.S., of course, we have a parallel holiday here, Groundhog Day, which is on February 1st or 2nd. Is it on the 1st or the 2nd? Should know this. But it's another holiday that, interestingly enough, I've always kind of thought it was a little bit of a joke, but it is interesting that it looks to the animal world to help us tap into the coming of a new season in the same way that Imbolc does with the ewes. And the groundhog is another way of kind of looking to our animal, in our interconnection with animals, to tell us something about the season when we might not be able to notice it with our human sensibilities. And I love that the Lunar New Year also is around this time, that is very much tapping us into this interconnection with animals and the stories of how the animals' characteristics interrelate with each other. So it's all really cool that animals are coming to the forefront right now, getting us a little bit out of our human-centricness for a moment, and all the madness that the human animals are putting on the stage right now. But basically we know that, like, Groundhog Day involves observing the behavior of the groundhog to forecast the length of winter. And if the groundhog sees its shadow, it means 6 more weeks of winter. And if not, an early spring is on the way. And this is, similar to how Imbolc celebrates the return of this light and the stirring of life through knowing that ewes are pregnant at this time. And this connection reflects these same themes across the board of renewal and the anticipation of warmer days, and echoes the ancient customs of celebrating the light and life returning to the earth. Imbolc has several distinct customs that are about kind of all, it's all about light. A lot of the pagan wheel of the year celebrations are about either returning of light or saying goodbye to the light. Up in the northern part of the world, the light is the most important thing. And so customs associated with Imbolc include lighting candles to represent the increasing daylight, and also cleaning our houses to welcome in the new season, similar to that Gate 41, kind of reeling it back in, pruning excesses, like spring cleaning, getting rid of stuff that you no longer need, and taking out the Christmas tree that has been up since Christmas. In my case, we just took it down yesterday, and kind of clearing up all of the remains of like deep winter's kind of holiday light stuff, and really feeling like a change of season is here in that way. So people often celebrate Imbolc with feasts that feature specific foods, and some people create Bridget's crosses from rushes, which are these beautiful kind of asymmetrical, equal tiered crosses that I'll post a picture of on the Substack. They're very beautiful. They're known as protective charms for the home. So it's about cleaning up our home, creating space for new energy in the home. It's also a time for reflection and intention setting, and it coincides very nicely with, it's not always around a new moon here, but this year the new moon is right next to Imbolc, so it's a really great connection to think about seed planting in that way. Think about the literal seeds that you want to plant in the ground. It's about time to start thinking about planting starters indoors, and before they can be planted outside. But just truly seed planting, intention setting, not rushing into putting yourself out there because it's still pretty cold, but thinking about, like, what would it be like if and when I'm able to get out into the world? What do I want for myself? What do I want for the world? And so it's a beautiful celebration, Imbolc. I'm going to a singing circle, an Irish Celtic singing circle. This will be a new experience for me. Some people I recently met who are putting on kind of a Bridget's Fire singing circle. So I'm so excited to tap into both the Lunar New Year celebrations, both at the Folk Art Museum this year, and also a friend of mine is putting on a party next weekend to kind of round out both ends of the Lunar New Year beginning, and then also this beautiful Imbolc celebration. So it feels really good to connect with people in this way. Imbolc, what else do I want to say about Imbolc? It's one of the 4 Gaelic seasonal festivals. There's different ways that the pagan wheel of the year is celebrated in different areas, but the cross-quarter days are celebrated in Gaelic tradition. So those days are Beltane, which is May Day, Lunasa, and Samhain, which is Halloween. And Imbolc is meaning in the belly, just kind of looking at my notes here, and in the belly is signifying the pregnancy of ewes and the impending arrival of baby lambs. getting born in spring. So it is a time of preparation, of cleaning house, of fire. It's a fire festival. Bridget is a fire goddess. She's the patroness of healing and fire. And so, yeah, this Imbolc, if you want to do some traditions or tap into this, have Irish ancestry, and I'm really excited to learn more and more about these specific traditions of the Wheel of the Year. And basically lighting candles is a very important custom, and kindling fires, creating fires in honor of Bridget, crafting Bridget's crosses from straw or rushes or reeds for protection of the home. It's a pretty, not easy weaving per se, but very doable for a beginner to create these crosses that don't have parallel arms to each other. They kind of look like pinwheels almost, like indicating an impression of motion and forward momentum towards spring. So love that. Feasting with family and friends, coming together in community, spring cleaning, already doing that without even really knowing it. And then, just embracing time for personal reflection as things do start to speed up into spring. It's time to really set intentions for the upcoming year, making those resolutions that you didn't make in January 1st. And it's overall just a beautiful reminder of the transition from the cold, dark days of winter to the warmth and renewal of spring. And as always, it encourages a connection with nature and the cycles of life. So I love this week in time. It's such a beautiful synergy of all of these different traditions. Finally, I'm about to let you all go, but I will mention the Human Design Wheel of the Year, just because I have to. It changes every week. And this week, we've learned a lot about 41, contraction. But on Tuesday through Saturday, the sun is moving into Human Design Gate 19, which is the gate of wanting. And this is a gate that is in the solar plexus center in the Human Design body graph, and it governs emotions and desires and emotional experiences. And the gate is all about the energy of wanting. It's called the gate of wanting, and it's about a deep inherent longing for something greater, something better. And whether that's a material desire, an emotional desire, or a spiritual desire, this week is about that wanting. And I feel like that really lines up deeply with this anticipation of spring and the kind of yearning and wanting for something, but it's not quite there yet. It's not quite ready. It's also a gate that is a lot about interconnection. And I love how the animal world, the more than human realm, has been mentioned already so much in the course of this week when thinking about Imbolc, in the belly of the ewes, and when thinking about the Lunar New Year. The gate of wanting is really highly sensitive to the needs of others, and there's a certain emotional impulse to fulfill those needs of others, which includes not only other people, but it's this desire to connect with all living beings. It's this really deep emotional sensitivity to the needs and desires of animals, plants, especially mammals, I would say, is what I've learned about, but just all living beings, and really seeing the great network of our interconnection. So there's a deep longing to nurture and protect and connect with the natural world. So it's a beautiful Aquarius gate that is not, it doesn't feel revolutionary per se, but in some way it is. It aligns with Aquarius in this way that it's about connections, about networking, it's about interdependency. And I feel like the sensitivity that's in this gate, it's emotional solar plexus gate, so the sensitivity that it brings really leads oftentimes to people who have this gate activated in their chart, to kind of having a natural empathy for the well-being of animals and a deep desire to help them thrive and to learn from them and to give reverence, pay reverence and respect to the other creatures of this world that give us sustenance, that give us food. There's definitely like a hunger in this gate, or like it's the gate of wanting. And so looking back into, how much we've relied upon animals for meeting our hunger, this is this gate that kind of like is able to see and pay reverence to that fact that we are so connected to animals in more ways than the food chain. This deep, like, energetic, psychic kind of connection. And yeah, it feels so spot on for this time of year with both Imbolc and the Lunar New Year. And just, it's kind of this time in nature when we start seeing animals stirring a little bit, after hibernation or after just being kind of like laying dormant a little bit more. I'm seeing more bluebirds flying around my neighborhood, more coyotes howling. It's like I'm starting to notice by paying attention to the world outside my door that the animals are starting to come alive again. They're the ones that are recognizing spring before we do. And that's just beautiful to look towards our animal kin, to pay attention to them and to give them the reverence that they deserve. I love animals. I'm sitting in a room with 2 amazing kitty cats right now and a couple dogs outside the door, and it's just so nice to be surrounded by them. And I sat outside tonight looking out at the stars, and there were so many coyotes howling, actually. And, it was just, it felt very connected to this whole thing that I'm talking about. Gate 19 also has this deep connection to the earth in general. So it involves this intuitive awareness of the planet's health. And people who have this gate, or during the time of the sun's transit through this gate, we might feel an emotional pull to support environmental causes and restore balance to ecosystems and adopt practices that honor the earth's natural rhythms. So yeah, one way to do that is share this podcast, I guess. It's connected to the rhythms. But beyond that, yeah, we're in a pretty dire time when it comes to policy and people paying respect to the natural earth. And that is not sustainable, obviously. It's not something that's going to last. And it's completely disheartening to see the types of things that are going through with fracking and the Paris climate deal. I mean, everything. It's just like one thing after another. And so everyone, this week it's the fact that this gate, this energy is calling on us to emotionally feel pulled towards giving to the environment rather than just seeking to take from it. It's super important at this very moment in time. Just keeping on paying attention to what's going on and staying, feeling the grief and staying vigilant and active on protecting Mother Earth. The emotional landscape of Gate 19 is closely tied to the well-being of the planet, and so there's a certain fulfillment that can come from engaging in activities that support sustainability and conservation. So let's go. It's time. The gate's energy also embodies the interaction between personal emotional needs and the collective needs of the earth. So it's just a very sensitive emotional gate, and nurturing animals and nurturing the planet can bring a profound sense of purpose and emotional satisfaction during this week. And it's like a mirrored thing. It's reciprocal. It's not like just this altruistic thing. It's obviously like by caring for the planet, we are caring for ourselves. And by caring for ourselves, we're caring for the planet. And recognizing our deep interconnection is so clutch right now. It's like the way to, if you find self-love, if you find love for the planet, make them work together. It's more radical and more important than it seems. than it might seem on the surface anyway. So gate 19 is also connected to the process of attraction. You might want something or someone because you feel it can complete or fulfill you in some way. And the challenge there lies in recognizing that these desires have to be kind of clarified and aligned with your true emotional state rather than acting on them without self-awareness. So, well, as we enter the year of the snake and think about the snake, it's about deep inner wisdom and self-awareness and helping us identify this week what truly needs to be nurtured and what truly resonates with us in a real way. So in the I Ching, the original Chinese book of changes, the gate 19 or hexagram 19 is known as approach. And this speaks to the idea of attracting others and leading others in a way that is based on genuine care and empathy, which is one of the themes for this week. It is, in the hexagram, it's depicting an image of a leader who has to approach their followers with humility and wisdom, offering something of value that naturally draws others to them. It's a kind of leading from behind energy, and not charging forward, but recognizing that true influence comes not from force, but from the ability to nurture and care for the needs of others. And my goodness, this has been just on the tip of my tongue all week, like truly starting to bring value to our society, that like leadership is nurturance and care, and it's so deeply ingrained within us that that is not the case. And this is something that, we have to use that humility. We have to use that wisdom, instead of just charging ahead and, like bulldozing everything in our path. It's not going to work anymore in this world. So central message of hexagram 19 throughout the course of this week as we go through these Imbolc and Lunar New Year is that true approach, a good approach, is grounded in understanding the needs of others. That's other humans, animals, the earth itself, and seeking to fulfill these needs without personal ego or agenda, recognizing that you are part of the interconnected whole. It's not about being selfish versus selfless. It's about recognizing your sovereignty within an interconnected network, that it's all made up of, networks are all made up of sovereign beings. And so it's really paying attention to others as if they are yourself. Not having as much of a divide between others and ourselves. And this allows us to move forward with a sense of purpose that's ultimately aligning with the collective good. And it does require patience. The year of the snake's coming right at the right time. It requires emotional clarity and patience, and it really warns against rushing into situations without a deep understanding of what others are truly longing for. On Sunday, we move into the gate of the listener, and that is also about kind of really not putting your ego behind you and looking at the larger whole and saying, am I assuming things, or am I really listening to what the needs currently actually are? So in the context of gate 19, this hexagram suggests that emotional fulfillment and satisfaction are not about forcibly pursuing what we want. Even though it's the gate of wanting, we cannot use force to get what we want, but instead take a humble and empathetic approach to others' desires and needs. And when you engage with others from this place, you naturally attract opportunities and experiences that align with your true wantings, your true emotional desires. Wrapping it up with the gene keys, as I always do, the gene key 19 is the key of sensitivity, and it has the shadow of impatience, the gift of sensitivity, and the city of sacredness. So basically the shadow is of wanting something, constantly seeking something outside of ourselves to fulfill our emotional needs, and it can manifest as being easily overwhelmed by the desires of others, or a certain emotional urgency to get what we want without truly understanding what's needed or how to approach the situation. And so that could show up in that way of just like, I want it now, like Veruca Salt and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like I want it my way and I want it now. That can feel pretty real right now. Like there's a lot of things that we want to be different and that we want for ourselves and we want for others, but it's learning to be patient. And so thanks, Snake. Teach us about patience. At the gift level, sensitivity is basically an ability to attune ourselves deeply to the emotional states and desires of others, while also listening to our own inner longings, and not only listening to others, but recognizing again that it's an interdependent, interconnected web of beings. And this can, cultivation of sensitivity can begin by tapping into the animal world, tapping into nature, going out into the place that is not dominated by human energy and by technological energy, but understanding the deep awareness of what's truly important through tuning out the excess. Again, we're still in that kind of vibes, pruning the excess and just getting in touch with what's really real. And yeah, sensitivity helps us listen deeply and helps others meet their desires. And if we're sensitive to others and know that they're going to help us along the way because we're all in a network together, then we can find emotional satisfaction in that process as well. And then at the highest expression of this gene key, the city of sacredness has the energy of transcending that constant seeking and desiring and moving from a place of complete emotional clarity and deep understanding, where the wantings, the urges, the desires that come up are in harmony with the greater flow of life. And there's no impatience, there's no attachment to outcomes, but instead everything is unfolding in its own divine timing. And there's usually just a certain grace that comes with this, a certain leadership that attracts others to you without needing to exert any force, because you're tapped into that divine timing, into that patience that recognizes that by listening deeply, by having a sensitivity to the larger environment around us, we're able to really get what we want in a way that is not really taught to us in Western culture as much. We're taught to, if you want something, you gotta go out and get it. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. But this ancient Chinese understanding of wanting, of approaching a situation, is telling us that, you don't just barge into a room. You need to kind of, walk into a room and see who's there. Take a look around. Don't talk for a little while. Don't make yourself known until you're aware of the environment. And there's a practice called bird sitting or nature sitting that I've learned about, where you can create a space in your backyard or in a window nook and look out at the same tree, the same bit of nature. Ideally, it's outdoors, but it could be kind of close to the outdoors, and just kind of building a relationship over time with the same spot in nature, without anticipating, without needing anything to happen, but just knowing that, like, by being a part of that environment, you will attune to it and gain sensitivity to that space. And that will in turn help your body feel more sensitive to human environments, where, again, you're not like needing to constantly be forceful or affect or influence the environment around you, but you're just sitting and waiting and building your powers of sensitivity, because sensitivity is a great power, especially when it comes to getting what we want. So with that, it's a sensitive time. It's a sensitive week. I am grateful for these new beginnings, and I'm grateful that these new beginnings are aligning themselves in these ancient cultures from across the globe with having a sensitivity to how we are all interconnected with one another, how we're interconnected with the planet, it's herself, and with the plants and the animals, and just every living being is part of the symbolism that we have always used to relate to the world. And it's time to practice empathy, to practice patience in a way that might challenge us to get deeper into like what those words actually mean. But I think through empathy and patience and attuning to a sensitivity of our larger natural environment, we'll be able to create conditions for real emotional fulfillment and spiritual growth, and being able to make it through these challenging times that we're in. So thanks for being here once again. I know there was a lot today that we went over, but I hope that you learned something, and that, you know, this double holiday this week can really bring a lot of new energy and renewal and clearing of space for what we want to come in to show up for us. So again, if you enjoyed what you heard here, please share this podcast with somebody who you think might like it. Again, I'm on Substack at astrosomatics.substack.com. If you're listening elsewhere, I'm also on other podcast listening places like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everywhere you find podcasts. And Instagram for now, astro.somatics or Cycles of Time podcast. Give me a follow. And I'd also love to give a big shout out to and a big thank you to Jackson Mate of Spirit River Sound for producing this podcast every week. Super, super grateful for all of his assistance here. And for everybody out there that is listening and has been a listener over time, it's, you know, I'm creeping up on the 1 year mark here and thinking about what's next, but it's been such a wonderful process to have you all along for the ride of the journeys through the seasons and just how much depth there is in each and every week. So thanks again for being here, for showing up, and for all of your engagement. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead, and I will see you next week. Bye.